How many times have you said, "One day I will speak English"? Next month? Next year? When I know more words? When my grammar is better? But what if that day never comes? What if the only thing standing between you and English fluency is the fear of making mistakes? Let's be honest, most people don't fail to learn English because they are lazy. They fail because they are afraid of speaking, afraid of sounding wrong, afraid of being judged, afraid of making mistakes. So they wait. They tell themselves, I need more vocabulary. I need better grammar. I need more practice. But months pass, sometimes years, and nothing changes. Because the problem was never vocabulary. The problem was never grammar. The problem was fear. Think about this for a moment. How many English videos have you watched? How many lessons have you completed? How many words have you learned? Now ask yourself another question. How many times have you actually spoken English? That question changes everything. Because English is not a subject. It is a skill. And skills grow when they are used, not when they are stored. Imagine someone who reads books about swimming every day. He watches swimming videos. He studies swimming techniques. He memorizes every rule, but he never enters the water. Will he become a swimmer? Of course not. English works the same way. You cannot become a confident speaker by preparing forever. At some point, you must start speaking. Even if your English is not perfect, even if you make mistakes, even if your voice shakes, because every fluent speaker you admire today started exactly where you are now. But here's the surprising truth. The biggest mistake English learners make is not speaking too little. It is believing they need to be ready before they start speaking, and that belief keeps them stuck for years. In the next part, we'll discover why waiting for the perfect moment may be the very thing preventing your English from improving. Here is something most English learners never realize. The longer you wait, the harder speaking becomes. Not because English gets harder, but because fear gets stronger. Every day you tell yourself, I'm not ready yet, your brain starts believing it. Weeks become months, months become years, and suddenly, every mistake contains a lesson. Every awkward sentence teaches you something. Every wrong word helps your brain adjust. Every conversation makes the next conversation easier. That is how progress works. Not perfectly, but gradually. Think about a child learning to speak. Children make thousands of mistakes, yet nobody tells them to stop talking until they are perfect. Nobody says, come back when your grammar is correct. They speak, they make mistakes, they improve, and eventually they become fluent. Language learning has always worked this way. The difference is that adults are often too afraid to look imperfect, and that fear becomes a prison built from embarrassment, a prison built from overthinking, a prison built from waiting. But here's the truth. People are not judging your English as much as you think. Most people are too busy worrying about themselves, and many will actually respect you for trying, because speaking a new language is not easy. It takes courage, real courage, the courage to sound imperfect, the courage to keep going, the courage to learn in public. And that courage is what separates successful learners from frustrated learners. Not talent, not intelligence. Courage, the willingness to speak before you feel ready, because confidence does not come before speaking. Confidence comes from speaking. Read that again. Confidence does not come before speaking. Confidence comes from speaking. And once you understand that, everything begins to change. But there is still one question that stops many learners. A question that sounds logical, but secretly destroys progress. What if I say something wrong? And that is exactly what we need to talk about next. What if I say something wrong? That question has stopped more English learners than grammar ever has. Think about it. How many times have you stayed silent even though you knew what you wanted to say? How many opportunities have you missed because you were afraid of making a mistake? And what happened afterward? Did your English improve because you stayed silent, or did you remain exactly where you were? The truth is simple. Silence feels safe, but silence does not build fluency. Speaking does. Every time you speak, you discover what you know, and more importantly, you discover what you need to improve. That is how growth happens. Not in your comfort zone, but just outside of it. Let me ask you something. If you say 10 sentences and 2 of them contain mistakes, what should you focus on? The 2 mistakes or the 8 sentences you communicated successfully? Most learners focus on the mistakes. Successful learners focus on the progress. That is a huge difference because when you focus only on mistakes, you lose motivation. But when you focus on improvement, you keep moving forward. And moving forward is what creates fluency. Not perfection, progress. Imagine 2 learners. The first learner waits until everything is perfect. Perfect grammar, perfect vocabulary, perfect pronunciation. The second learner starts speaking today, making mistakes, learning from them, improving little by little. Now ask yourself, who will be speaking better English 1 year from now? The answer is obvious, because action always beats preparation without action. Always. And here is another truth. Native speakers make mistakes too. Sometimes they forget words. Sometimes they misspeak. Sometimes they correct themselves. Yet they keep talking. Why? Because communication matters more than perfection, and the same is true for you. Your goal is not to speak perfect English. Your goal is to communicate clearly, to share ideas, to express yourself, to connect with people. That is what language is for. Not perfection, connection. And once you stop chasing perfection, you become free to improve. But there is still one hidden habit that keeps millions of learners stuck, a habit so common that most people don't even realize they are doing it. And if you can break this habit, your English journey becomes much easier. Let's talk about that next. There is one habit that quietly destroys progress, and most English learners do it every single day. They compare themselves to other people. They watch someone speaking fluent English and immediately think, why am I not like that? They see someone speaking confidently and feel discouraged. They see someone who learned English in 2 years and feel discouraged. They see someone who learned English in 2 years and start questioning themselves. But here's what they don't see. They don't see the years of mistakes. They don't see the embarrassing moments. They don't see the fear that person had in the beginning. They only see the result, never the journey. And that creates a dangerous illusion, an illusion that everyone is moving faster than you. But that is rarely true, because language learning is not a race. Everyone starts from a different place. Everyone has a different schedule. Everyone has different opportunities. The only comparison that matters is this. Are you better than you were 6 months ago? Can you understand more than before? Can you speak more than before? Can you express yourself better than before? If the answer is yes, then you are already winning, even if your progress feels slow, because slow progress is still progress. Let me ask you a question. Would you rather improve slowly for 1 year or quit because you wanted fast results? Most learners want speed. Successful learners want consistency. And consistency always wins. Always. Think about the people who become fluent. They are not necessarily the smartest. They're not necessarily the most talented. They are simply the people who kept going. When others stopped, they continued. When others got discouraged, they continued. When others doubted themselves, they continued. That is the real secret. Not talent, not luck, not special ability, persistence. The willingness to keep taking small steps again and again and again, even when the results are not immediate. Because every day you continue, your English becomes stronger. Every day you listen, your understanding improves. Every day you speak, your confidence grows. Maybe slowly, but it grows. And one day, you will realize that the things that once felt impossible have become normal. Conversations become easier. Listening becomes easier. Speaking becomes easier. Not because English changed, because you changed, because you refused to quit. But there is one final truth that every English learner needs to hear, a truth that can completely change the way you see your future. And once you understand it, you may never look at English the same way again. There is one final truth that every English learner needs to hear, and it may be the most important truth of all. Your future English is being created right now. Not next year, not someday, not when you finally feel ready. Right now. With every decision you make, every day you choose to practice, you move forward. Every day you choose to avoid English, you stay where you are. It really is that simple. Imagine yourself 1 year from today. There are two versions of you. The first version keeps waiting for motivation, waiting for confidence, waiting for the perfect time, waiting to feel ready. And 1 year later, nothing has changed. The same fears, the same excuses, the same frustration. Now imagine the second version. This person starts today, but not perfectly, not confidently, just starts. One conversation, one lesson, one video, one small step at a time, day after day, week after week, month after month. Who do you think will be closer to fluency? The answer is obvious, and that is why the decision matters. Not tomorrow, today, because fluency is not built in one big moment. It is built in hundreds of small moments. Moments when you choose courage over fear. Moments when you speak even when you're nervous. Moments when you keep going even when progress feels slow. Those moments change lives. Let me ask you one last question. What is the real risk? Making a mistake while speaking English, or spending years wishing you had started sooner? Think about that. Most people regret the chances they never took, the conversations they never had, the opportunities they never used. Don't let English become one of those regrets, because every fluent speaker once stood exactly where you are now, unsure, nervous, afraid of mistakes. The difference is that they took the first step, and then another, and another, until one day they became the person they wanted to be. And so can you. But before we finish, there is one message I want every English learner to remember forever. Before this video ends, I want you to stop for a moment, not to think about your English, not to think about grammar, not to think about vocabulary. Think about yourself. Think about where you were 1 year ago, and ask yourself honestly, did you imagine you would still be waiting, still doubting yourself, still wondering if you can become fluent? The truth is, many people spend years waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect course, the perfect teacher, the perfect plan, the perfect level. But that perfect moment never arrives because confidence doesn't come first. Action comes first, and confidence follows. That is how growth works. That is how fluency works. And that is how every successful English learner started. Not with confidence, not with perfect grammar, not with a huge vocabulary, but with a decision. A simple decision to begin, to keep going, to refuse to quit. Even when progress felt slow, even when mistakes felt embarrassing, even when nobody noticed the effort. Because deep down, they understood something important. Every day matters. Every conversation matters. Every lesson matters. Every attempt matters. Nothing is wasted. Every time you listen, your brain learns something. Every time you read, your brain learns something. Every time you speak, your brain learns something even when it doesn't feel like it. Progress is often invisible before it becomes visible. That is why so many learners quit too early. They leave just before things start improving. They stop just before confidence begins to grow. They give up just before everything starts making sense. Don't be that person. Don't let fear decide your future. Don't let mistakes decide your future. Don't let doubt decide your future. Because one day you will look back at this moment and you will either be grateful that you started or regret that you waited. And if there is one message I want you to remember from this entire video, it is this. You do not become fluent by making one giant leap. You become fluent by taking one small step, then another, and refusing to stop. That is how confidence is built. That is how fluency is built. That is how dreams become reality. One day at a time, one lesson at a time, one conversation at a time, one small step at a time. So don't ask yourself, can I become fluent? Ask yourself, am I willing to keep going? Because if the answer is yes, you are already on the right path, and your future English-speaking self is waiting for you. Not at the finish line, but in the next step you take. Before you leave, I want to hear from you. What is the one thing that is stopping you from speaking English confidently? Is it fear, lack of vocabulary, pronunciation, making mistakes, or something else? Write your answer in the comments below. And if you're serious about improving, also tell me, how long have you been learning English? Let's help and motivate each other, because nobody learns alone. Thank you for watching. Keep listening, keep learning, keep practicing, keep speaking, and most importantly, keep moving forward. Small steps, big fluency.